Toast, I don't think you want to go on a ride. Hey pigs! Look at that growing all in the pig's last pen. Quick pause. Do you see all these plants? I think they're cucumbers.
Is that what you're trying to show us?
Yeah, I'm not going to touch it.
That's what you showed me?
No, this isn't what I came out here to show y'all, but I just wanted to check it out. It's a big patch of something. No, there's something else I want to show you, but Ben would like to show you all his boot.
I got a giraffe on it.
It's got a giraffe on it. It's helping your foot. Good news, Ben's foot is not broken. Maya took him to the urgent care, and they x-rayed it and said that there was a chip in the bone. But then we went to the ortho at the beginning of the week, and they said
it's not a chip.
It's not a chip.
They said the growth plate buckled, which I don't know exactly what that means, but
Well, his bone's not chipped.
Not chipped, not broken.
They're keeping him in a boot for just a little bit. So I was showing Ben and Maya, plus I was going to do a harvesting. Will has created a mushroom garden back here in the woods. These are actually called honey mushrooms, but I'm not going to pick those.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, you can touch it. So he's got a couple of different types back here going.
I helped wax some of them.
You helped wax some of these? That's pretty cool. So there are several different areas, and there are a couple different kinds, but a lot of these are oysters. Here's some. What'd you find? That's what we're out here to pick, is the oysters.
Right now?
Yeah.
Can I touch it?
Yeah, we need to pick them. I'm going to make some cream of mushroom soup out of them.
I don't know how to pick it.
I want to show you.
You did find it?
Okay. So just take it and break it off like that. If it's real little like this one, just leave it there because that'll get bigger. Some of these are a little on the large side and they're getting a little old and they'll start getting kind of porous, so we want to make sure we get them. These are pretty close. Nice, thank you.
Is this one close?
No, leave that one. That one will get bigger. If they're starting to like thin out and kind of break along the edges, we need to go ahead and pick it. Yeah, thank you. All right, you want to get that one or you want to leave it? There's also another log over there that has some. Here, will you hold these? Here, over here, look. So Will did a video whenever he did inoculate these logs. This is, I'm pretty sure it was called Warm Blue oyster spawn. We got it from Mushroom Mountain. And I'll put a link to the video that he did because I can't remember exactly how long ago it was. But it was in preparation for them to start growing like now. Here, you want to take these? Carefully with both hands. There's some buggies in those. You got him? Here, careful. You listening for something? Oh, you're just listening to how it sounds when you flick it? So I didn't know anything about mushrooms prior to meeting Will. And right around the time he started working here, he went and did his certification that he could actually like forage and sell to restaurants. So I was like, well, that's really cool. It's nice to have somebody around that knows this sort of stuff. But he has a real fascination in doing this. And I just thought this was so cool. This is in the woods next to our house. And from what I understand, growing mushrooms is very simple. I mean, I've helped do some inoculating of the logs. It doesn't take a lot of work. They do need shade and they need pretty consistent moisture. So these have required being watered. And these trees are young. Though there are there are some oaks here. It's a lot of pines, and that's why you see these logs kind of down on the ground, because many mushrooms grow on old hardwoods. I would say, I don't know that most is the correct term, but I know that most of the mushrooms that we like forage for, we're looking for old hardwoods that are like in the course of decay. So if you have like a young pine forest, you're not going to have as many of the kind of mushrooms you're looking for to eat. So the solution for that, for us, and what he did here, was he just cuts down oak trees or finds them already having fallen down and then cuts them up and then uses those logs. He does have some that he did with pine, but for the most part we're looking for hardwoods to do that. But I think this is so cool. Benjamin came out and he's like, oh, I helped make some of these. And he'll spend the whole day inoculating logs and then come out and they're kind of half buried. I know he has a whole lot of them at his property. But this is our little mushroom garden over here, and it's very peaceful, very cool. So I made a little bit of a mistake, which I was texting Will to ask him. Most of these I broke off, but ideally whenever you are harvesting these out of those inoculated logs, you kind of want to cut it off to make sure that you leave the plug, because if the plug stays and there are any little baby mushrooms coming out, then they'll still mature and you'll get more fruit off of it, but it's okay. This was, obviously not the majority. We're still going to get a lot of fruit. So I'm just laying these out on this paper towel right now. You don't want to wash mushrooms. So there were some bugs on this, which is why I'm going to lay them out and make sure there's not a lot of moisture on them. And then I have a brush that I'll brush them off to get any dirt off of. I want to make cream of mushroom soup, which I don't know exactly how I'm going to go about doing that yet. It's not going to be right now. It's probably going to be tomorrow, because tonight I'm cooking something else for dinner. And first, I'm headed back out to the garden. This is the difference between Cornish crossbirds and everything else. So obviously it's evening. Everything has been fed for the day. The ducks have no reason to come hollering whenever I pull up on the side-by-side because they've already been fed. These birds, however, always want to eat more. Always. Goodness, they're getting big. We currently have the processing date for these in 3 weeks, but some of them, I imagine, are going to be huge by then. We may go a week earlier than that. Hey, little runaway, what are you doing out here? So the other day in a video, I threw all of these spent tomato plants into my chickens. Same as I have done for the last 10 years since I have had tomatoes and chickens consecutively. And so many comments were like, you're not supposed to do that, that I came out the next morning. And even though I have fed tomato plants to chickens for 10 years, I was certain I was going to find all my chickens dead. I didn't find any dead. I didn't see any signs of gastrointestinal distress. In my experience with chickens, they typically don't eat stuff that bothers them. Like sometimes I'll throw like onions and citrus in, and they typically won't really eat those. I know those are on the do not feed list. Why do I do that? And I'm not trying to just like flout the rules or anything, but it's just a matter of like common sense to me. My chickens have gotten in my garden and eaten the plants. I put them in the garden to clean out the plants at the end of the year. And so I just do what my experience has taught me is okay. I'm not telling you you should definitely like follow your own, leading on what you feel like you should do. And if you want to read information and follow that, like completely do that, instead of just because I do something doesn't mean you should. But maybe if you had a few chickens and you put a whole bunch of plants in, that can make them sick. From my understanding with tomato plants, it's solanase. There's this chemical compound in them that can be toxic in large amounts to anybody who eats it, chicken or human. But it's pretty common for people to flavor things with tomato leaves. I put that in a video once a couple years ago, and a lot of people were like, don't do that, it's toxic. From what I understand, you would have to eat just pounds and pounds of tomato leaves for it to make you sick. That said, some people can't tolerate nightshades at all. So maybe it's more of like a case-to-case basis. I'm not sure. But I will keep throwing tomato plants to my chickens unless they tell me none of that. Does that look like what she's saying? She looked around right in that moment and looked at me. All right, eggs. Are you broody? Eggs have been gathered today, but still, this is definitely lower numbers. They're starting to wind down a little bit. Look at that little guy. That's pretty. Kind of speckly light green egg. So a couple of these girls are starting to molt. I noticed one of them, this lady here, she's like missing a lot of her tail feathers. And these are the older hens. Most of them are older, so that's not surprising. Whenever they go into molt, they won't lay for a little while because they'll regrow all their feathers. And while they go through that, they typically need a little bit more support in their diet with protein. I've heard of people talking about feeding them like cat food and stuff like that. There's no way that I'm a graceful enough human to go over this fence with a camera and a bucket of eggs without hurting me or that or this. I'll be back. Much better. Hey now. So we've never done anything super specific during molt other than the fact that we provide our birds with like a 16% layer pellet anyway. So that's got like a good level of protein. But we don't do any sort of like supplemental protein. However, during this time of year, whereas we always have what we call the pig bucket, and it typically always goes to the pigs, I may throw more scraps to the chickens from the kitchen and the house during the molt so that they're having a little bit more of a boost. Plus the fact that usually the molt happens, well, it always happens in the fall and the early winter when the grass is kind of dying back, and then also the insect population is also dying back. So they're not getting quite as varied of a diet. The pig bucket, which is just kitchen scraps, is going to come to the chickens more in the cold months than it ever does. We usually don't ever take scraps to the chickens in the summer because they're feasting on bugs with their fences being moved. All right, next step. I need to venture out into this mess. I am equipped. I have gloves, I have boots, I have pants, even though they do have big holes in them. They are at least mostly covering the bottom of my legs. And I have sleeves, because if I didn't have all of that, I would have hives. So we are looking for pumpkins. Been steadily picking, and I don't expect to find a whole lot right now just because we've picked recently, but I'm trying to stay on top of it. Just trying to make sure that if there are pumpkins out here that are ready to be harvested, I catch them. I have lots of small ones, like here. I don't know if those will get to be harvested. I don't know that they'll get mature enough before. Oh, there's one. Let's see. Well, that wasn't a great thing to do. This is not a job I can responsibly do one-handed. These pumpkins are too big. I just broke the stem off of this, which will keep it from storing well, which is fine. I'll just use it here really soon, but I'm gonna have to go put the camera down because I can't pick up this 15-pound pumpkin and hold my 10-pound camera. Alright, little thing here to show you. With pumpkins, it's hard sometimes to know when to pick them because sometimes it's not like super cut and dry. And you'll hear, you know, like pick them when you can't pierce them with your thumbnail. You know, obviously the issue being that if you go poking a bunch of holes in your pumpkins with your thumbnail, then you're going to have another issue. So if you are going to test with your nail, don't go really trying to push your thumbnail through. Just, you know, you can push it against it enough to see if you could, but don't poke holes in it. But the issue here where we are, where in the fall it can still get really hot, is that if you don't pick them when they're ready, they start to break down. Like this one, the rind started to break down because it's so wet here and it's so hot. Even though technically, right, I mean, it's been pretty dry the last couple weeks, but even still, the humidity and the moisture, this is another one that's going to need to be used here pretty soon because the way that this skin got broke down by being moist, it will rot. So this one is going to have to probably just go ahead and go in the house. And I don't necessarily have to like cook it and eat it right now, but I am going to want to split this, bake it, scoop the inside out, and at least freeze it so that it doesn't spoil. That's why I'm regularly out here checking rather than just leaving this and then, I mean, obviously it would be easier to just like come out and do it once at the end, but some places you can. Some places you can just wait and leave your pumpkins and they'll be fine, especially whenever you have really cool falls, but yeah, not here.
I thought you were picking those really cool things.
Let me see. Yeah, there's another one in there I just saw.
Is that heavy?
It's pretty heavy. You can try to pick it up. The stem's pretty pokey. Oh yeah. It's pretty heavy. It's probably
2 pounds.
like probably like 10 or 12. Here, why don't you carry this one over to the side by side? I'll get the bigger one. Here, you can put it back here with this one.
How'd you beat me?
Longer legs, I guess. And I'm also not wearing a boot.
Susan, look at the camera.
She's rubbing against it. Oh!
Like I am.
I'm about to run out of light.
Where'd Dad go?
I'm not sure. He was out there changing out the door on the coop.
There he is. I see Daddy. Mom, that's a nice one.
Yeah, that one's pretty, huh?
Are we gonna have pumpkin pie?
Yeah, we already have some.
Mom, you look like an explorer in a jungle.
You think so? Should I prowl?
Hello, it's me, Ben. Hey guys, I'm back. This is a nice looking rock. I got it from the middle of our driveway, so, and now, throwing rocks has been. I made a good video.
Good.
You're gonna edit it into the video.
Okay. Here, you want my glove and you want to carry that over to the... Here, you want the other one? Alright, you can carry that one pumpkin over to the side by side.
Carrying pumpkins with Ben.
Carrying pumpkins with Ben, that's right. Too heavy?
I just want to get a little bit different grip on it.
Okay. Alright, well, I pulled several out. There are quite a few really big ones in there, actually bigger than any that I've harvested so far. But they're not ready yet, they're still green. And some that are, they've turned the tan color, but they're not, the skins aren't hard yet. And then you can kind of still see that there's a little bit of streaking on them. So they're not ready. They take on that dull color. This is Dutch fork pie pumpkins. I don't know if these are crossed at all. We got the seeds from Dr. Kibler, and the size and shape is a little ununiform, but that may be like normal. I don't know. They're really good. We've eaten a couple of them so far, and we really like them. And we got really excited the other day because Jeremiah and I went out on a date night, and we went to this place we really like in Columbia called Motor Supply, and they locally source like everything, and they had Dutch fork pie pumpkins on their menu as a local heirloom, so that was exciting. We got 3 there, 1 behind Ben. What do we have on the floor?
We have 4.
Oh, you're right. So we have 8. We just got 8 total. That's pretty good. I'll take it.
Oh, it's not pumpkin, not pumpkins pies, it's pumpkin. So it's 1 pumpkin.
Oh, you thought it was pumpkins pie, so you thought it took... He said we have enough to make 4 pumpkins pies. You thought each one took more than 1 pumpkin. Oh, no. It takes about 2 cups of pumpkin puree to make a pumpkin pie. And a big pumpkin like this one by your foot, that'll probably give us at least like 8 to 10 cups of pumpkin puree. So I could potentially make 4 pumpkin pies out of that 1 pumpkin. Pretty good, huh? So we can have plenty of pumpkins pies. Alright guys, I'm losing light, which happens a lot earlier now. And that's okay, because I'm getting dinner done a lot earlier now. I have to go cook.
But Mom, can you ask the viewers if they have boots? Any of them have boots?
Ben would like to know if any of you have a walking boot like he currently has. I bet that somebody out there has a walking boot on. You guys are kindred right now. Yeah. So,
Okay.
thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We bless you.
Until next time.
Until next time.